Good morning, my Anakins from the BSN English Way. I'm sorry that I suddenly created this video, but I know all of you are still mesmerized and overwhelmed of the beauty of the numerals. And it's not just for me to continue our discussion in morphology. Since it's a technical subject, I need to be more specific. But since if I'm going to discuss the lesson proper, of course, the consequences are none of you are going to observe the lesson properly, and it will not be wise to continue on. However, the beauty about this subject is going to be like this. Our course will be delimited into two categories. Number one, I will not be discussing about the variations of the morpheme, specifically for free morpheme and bound morpheme. Why? Because in free morpheme, there are two classifications that I'm going to discuss technically, which is going to be research and structure of English language. These are the lexical morpheme and the functional morpheme. Whereas for the bound morpheme, it is classified as the inflectional morpheme and the derivational morpheme, which separates what kind of part of speech it is. Then the second one that I'm not going to discuss in morphology is going to be higher technicalities of structures, stems, and the like. Because some words, like for example, vocation came from the word vocale. It's not going to be recognized in our dissection, since it's going to be highly technical, as well as going to focus on etymology. Since you're not yet in structure of English, I will limit myself to the basic among basics in language. What you need to remember and recall is your affixes during college, such as your prefix and suffix. Now, let's expose to the following. Take a look at this example. Normally, we all know last discussion, we talked about the two classifications of morpheme. It's a layman's terms for this. For free morpheme, we define this as the root word. For stem morpheme, we define this, bound morpheme, rather, we define this as an affix. If you still remember, a root word is the base word of the sentence. It is what we will identify as a or the core value of the word. This is the base of how words evolve. Then the affixes, if you still remember in our discussion, how do they focus this? On the added attribute of an affix and will turn them into another function. For example, the word it here is normally a base word that describes a verb. However, if we're going to put it with the word ing, this can lead into two categories. The first category, it can be recognized as a verbal. Verbal. When you speak of verbals, if you still remember, verbals are verbs that are in the form of a noun, an adjective, and an adverb. If you still remember your high school days, when you speak of verbal, this is where my hobby. Then the second one is I am eating food. As you can see here, the morphological structure completely changed the functionality of the word. In here, since this area over here plays as a role of a subject, that means to say that the first part is always discussing or always exposing the essence of the subject. It's going to get out of front. So, since eating is considered a gerund, where we speak of a gerund is a kind of verb that uses ing that functions strictly as a noun. However, again, eating can also be considered as here, gerund, and an adjective or a participle, wherein a participle is defined as a verbal that functions using the ing or ed that plays a role as a verb, as an adjective or a verb. You can also consider that eating can also be a participle if you're going to put a specific element to it. It'll change the function. Whereas in here, I am eating, it's not functioning as a progressive verb. If we still don't remember what's a progressive verb or a progressive tense, to be precise in verbs, progressive tense, specifically in structure of English, is a kind of tense that deals with continuous. In terms of international terms, we call this one in English the continuous tenses. If you still remember the four kinds of tenses, the simple tense, the progressive tense or the continuous tense, the perfect tense, and the perfect progressive, this falls in the category of a progressive tense. That means to say that the word eating here functions still as a verb. Remember, I'm just talking about ing. There are variations that we can use from eating, such as eaten, ate, and many more. But now, the tricky question here is this. Now we know the basics, why this function works, how to analyze them in terms of their functionality. You might never request a piece of paper, please. I'm going to piece of paper, please, from the audience. Sorry for my snores. Thank you very much. Now I'm going to show to you guys how English works in terms of structure using morphology. Consider this example as your basic concepts on how to digest this. Just remember two concepts, guys. The free morpheme, here, free morpheme, and the bound morpheme. When we're going to digest this one, we are going to use these two elements, focusing on the root word and the adverbs. Now, let's start off with the basics. For example, Paul sleeps. This one we consider sentence patterns of subject and intransitive verb, wherein Paul is the subject and the verb is sleeps. However, the two classifications of verbs, the intransitive and transitive verb, you should remember that since it's going to be playing a huge role in your structure of English in the second semester. When we speak of intransitive verb, these are verbs that can stand alone. That means to say that whenever you use a specific verb, it automatically tells you what the word is. Whereas for this one, sleeps is an intransitive verb. However, if I put a direct object in the sentence, it will become now a transitive verb, which defines as a verb that is dependent through the verb In normal structure of English, we have 4 to 5. We're just going to use 3, okay? So, in here, the first part is the morpheme classification. In this case, when it's with morpheme classification, we are determining if it is a root word, or we call it in technical terms free morpheme, or it is called a vowel morpheme, or what we call the affix. Since Paul is a root word, we call it a free morpheme. Now, things get interesting. Okay, the next step is going to be like this. The next step, if it is a free morpheme, you're going to classify the parts of speech. You have to remember the part of speech in the sense, especially flying, white border part. That's a BSD. You have to remember, guys, that you have to know and master by heart the 8 parts of speech, which are the noun, pronoun, verb, adjective, adverb, prepositions, interjections, and conjunctions. Now, if you're a philosopher and you are trying to prove also the philosophical theory of one of my former professors, may her soul rest in peace and peace your mom, you can also consider articles as a part of speech. Okay? It's not been proven, but you can also prove it in your research during your third year as a Bible, proving articles as a form of the part of speech. But then again, that will be another case. Okay, now the part of speech can be determined and classified in categories. It can be a noun, verb, or adjective. Common sense, Paul is a proper noun, so we put and. This would be the abbreviations that's going to be okay. And the next one is this. The next one is this. The last one will focus on this category. The last one is determining if it is a root word or a stem word. Now, I'm not going to discuss the stem word, but to give an oversight since it's the video, a stem word defines as a word that is looking for the etymology and arcade of the word. For those audience who doesn't know the word, this one, so that they will be educated for those who are watching this video. What is it of arcade? It's a philosophical term that means origin. Or in Tagalog, origin. Saan pinagmulan or origin? Arcade, that's why there's the word arcade or archaeology. If you notice that in the evolution of words, those words came from the root word arcade. Now, since Paul is an original English word, or even, for example, dance, or camille, or even sunshine, we can just put here. So, now we're seeing the functionality of each morphemes. Now, how do we deal now with this one? Since we're dealing with the word sleeps. Now, take a look at this one. Since they are 2 entities, we're going to divide them by 2. This one's for the basic person, okay? So the first one is sleep. The second one is S. What have we noticed right here? If you notice, I separated the root word or the free morpheme to the affix or the vowel morpheme. Okay, now how do we do this in this one? So let's first go to sleep since this was the easy one, the free morpheme. So we all know already some basic things, so we all know the classifications. Let's just dive into. So this is a free morpheme, of course. It's a free morpheme since it's a root word. Then the next one is this. Sleep here is an intransitive verb. That means to say, if it is an intransitive verb, it's automatically a verb. Then in here, since sleep is an intransitive verb, we're going to put down a root since it's the origin. So that's the first one. Now, similar to vowel morphemes, we have also okay. Now, Because the reason why I'm not going to be technical, because you're not going to classify the functionality of the word, especially derivational and inflectional has varieties. I'm going to give you a brief over what they mean. Inflectionals can be used as a plural, a gerund forming, a participle forming, and anything. It's very complex, especially in morphological structures. Whereas for derivational morphing, if the morpheme only changes its functionality, if it turns to a noun, a verb, an adjective, or an adverb. I'm not going to discuss this yet. You're not getting structure. I'll reserve that for the next semester. Okay? So, in here, we're going to divide this into 3 categories. We have also morpheme classification in the first one. So, the next one will focus on the second functionality. This is, of course, the affix classification. Now, the basic theme here is this. Okay. You're going to just put here on the last one. If it is a noun, we're going to use a common standard here since you're first. We have if it is a noun forming, the NF noun forming, verb forming for PF, ADJ forming, and we have ADB forming. So, in this case, this is the basic composition of how we're going to dissect a specific word. So, now let's proceed to the next one. So here it is about morphing. So it's about morphing, that means to say it is an affix. So here, S is a suffix. Since we all know that the prefix is putting a attribute on the beginning of the word, then the suffix is on the end part of the word, then infix is in the middle. Or in Tagalog, we call them the manlapi, the umlapi, the pulapi, and gitlapi. Or if you're going to be very technical, the infix, of course, but the umlapi. But I'm not going to discuss those yet. Let's examine one. So we have the vowel morpheme. Then we have also the affixes in the suffix. So next, the S now is going to be a verb form. So for those being who are watching as well as your BSL English or wondering why is it consisting of 3,000 items in the examination, this is the reason why. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So for just one sentence, it contains 11 points. Imagine a compound complex sentences that contains 300 or 500 items for each diagnosis or diagnosis. So that is the basics of morphology. You can see for a while, guys. This is an elementary grade 1 analysis. Even these audiences who are watching, their daughters and sons can answer. That's how confident I am. Even the one who's wearing a polo, I'm super confident he can answer this in just one analysis. So, let's have another example. Let's use now languages. For those who are watching, this is an overview why I'm teasing my students 3,000 items. But the reality is going to be 5 questions. Let's try something weird, and I will explain why it contains many items. Are studying English, and the fattest man jumps ungracefully. So, here's the last example before you're going to application. Let's have a compound sentence. The beautiful ladies are studying English, and the batsman jumps ungracefully. jumps, then the first one. We will end this one. Okay. For those who are doing my PH, you'll be in a surprise. This is only one question. This is only one question. So, how do we dissect now this beautiful sentence over here? Using the principle that I taught you on the first video. Okay. Dog is an article. But how do we dissect them? Remember the definition of free morphemes. Free morphemes are highly considered as nouns, articles, prepositions, conjunctions, and the like. So, then I'm going to explain to you why sensitive in the second semester. But as an overview, it's something to do with the classifications of lexical morphemes and functional morphemes. So for now, let's understand this. It's a free morpheme. So, dog is an article, correct? So we're going to put an article over here. Then it is a root. So, beautiful. What is the root word of beautiful? Yes, you heard me. Beautiful is not actually the base word, but it's actually beautiful. Beauty. Then, of course, full. So, we're going to dissect this one by one. So we have also the free morpheme. But this is function as an adjective, and it's also a root. I'm not going to use the Latin word for beauty. Not yet. You might go crazy if I do that. Let's start off with gradual torture. For the meantime. Okay? For full, there is noun morpheme. Of course, the suffix. And this is specifically an adjective word. For now. I'm not gonna give you classifications for inflectional and derivational yet. Latest, of course, we have the late, and of course the S. So the drill, of course, free morpheme, a noun, and a root. Then IS, of course, is a vowel morpheme, a suffix, and a noun form. R, again, is a linking verb, and like I said before, free morphemes are like that. And the second subject is free, so it's a free morpheme, and this is a verb. The only time it's a linking verb and action verb, then also a root. Studying is two categories, so we have the STUDY and ING. So we have here, of course, we have here the free morpheme. We also have here this one is specifically a verb. Again, why is not considered an adjective, predicate nominative or a predicate noun? Again, English is a group. English is there. However, if I remove this one, this will play differently. Again, even the tiniest portion of the words can change the whole functionality of the words. I'm not joking. Funny, but it's true. Verb. Then we have the root word. Now, ing is, of course, noun morpheme, of course. Then we have also the suffix. Then we have also the verb form. Now, English, since this is just simply a root word, free morpheme, a noun, as well as a root. Now, and here's a conjunction. So no need for explanations, we're just going to copy like this one. So it's a conjunction and a root. Dog, just copy this one, just copy. Free morpheme, article, then root. Fast, we all know it's comparison values. If you know the EREST, the positive comparative superlative is under the superlatives and adjectives. That is to say, we're just going to use the fact. Then the test. So here, don't be deceived. Remember, don't be deceived by this. It looks like the root word test, but take a look. It functions differently. It functions as a suffix instead of an independent person. Don't put free morphemes. The functionality of the word matters in analyzing structures. If you're still confused of what I'm trying to say, we'll just continue. You can ask me questions on Facebook or even Messenger. You can try to compromises that we can do understand overall. Okay. So here fact, of course, fact here is an adjective. Of course, it is specifically a free morphem, adjective, and it's a root word. Adjective. Test is a suffix. Bound morphem, suffix, then it is an adjective. For man, if you know this, it is specifically a noun. So we have a free morphem, a noun, and a root. Now jumps here is a verb, common sense. So we separate jump, then S. The last one is very long, so bear with me guys. So similarly, we have the free morphem, we have the verb, then we have the root. S again is a suffix, so bound morphem, suffix. Then we have here also a verb form. Now you're dealing with the word ungracefully. Here's the problem. It's a aglan or a prefix. And the root word, specifically here, is grace. The biggest question here is how do we dissect multiple affixes? Don't immediately assume that ungrateful is the root word. No. Morphology dissects to the smallest portion of the word. That means to say it will be dissected in the little portions of the word. So in here it will be focusing on ungraceful, then L1. Rule of thumb in analyzing morphologies: if the root word is only as a prefix, always begin with a prefix. But if it has both prefix and suffix or infix, automatically you always start right to left, not left to right. Again, start from right to left, not left to right. So here's what we're going to do. Ly, ungraceful. Is this the root word? No. Grace is what we're looking for. So we're gonna dissect it again. So ungrace. Yep, you heard me. Ungrace. Listen. Again, we're dissecting it in the smallest portions of the word. Then we have full. Then we have then grace. This is where you're now, since they are already chunked into tiny portions, the ungracefully. This is where we're going to begin dissecting them one by one. So let's start off with Ly first. So it's a bound morphem. Remember, Ly is describing this one and it's an adverb. If you don't remember, adverbs modifies verbs, adjectives, and another adverbs. So it's a bound morphem, it's a suffix, so it's an adverb form. Adverb form. Copy this one, since the functionality of ungracefully is just the same. Just copy this one. Bound morphem, suffix, adverb. Now, how will you do now? Just copy the L1. Bound morphem, suffix, adverb. Now for the last part, grace. What about grace, guys? So it's a free morphem. It's an adverb. Then it's a root. So basically, guys, this is the basic morphological structure. And you want to know how many points this one question contains. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60,
58, 59, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76 over 76. Just one line. That's it. For our questions. So you can do this to our students if you want to. You can do. So for just one question, 76. Imagine a compound complex sentences which will contain one question for 300 items. That's how morphology works. Take note, we're still not, there are two elements missing. We're still missing the classifications of morphemes and classification of free and bound morphemes, and of course, its exact functionality. What we're seeing here is just level 1. We haven't reached level 2 yet. So, my structuralist, this is how it works. My analysis, if you have questions, you can just feel free to chat me in the comments down below. As well as, you can also tell me if you are confused with this topic. I can tutor you at the same time. If you have concerns and questions, you can also be an individualist. Okay. With that being said, this is the introductory part of morphology. Again, introductory part. We're not level 1. So, once again, this is Sir John Paul Feliciano, your professor in BSED, Introduction to Linguistics, BSED English 1A. Signing off and have a good productive rest.